It's 10 o'clock.
I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. From now until my enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, Mount Meru, encircled by the four continents, surmounted by the sun and the moon. I visualize this Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy the Pure Land.
Oh yeah. Kalau 참아도 참 잘실 요스. 근데 당아도 로만도 다리 돈지네 몸자인 뜻 참아 리잉거 있으면 탐지된 도시라 디토가 내려와시 요스.
Good morning to you all. Thank you for coming and join me in today's cyberspace Dharma discussion. And it is my hope that we're going to practice Aryantara mantra recitation In other words, we're going to practice meditation combined by the Aryantara mantra recitation. And I would like to remind you that you all need to organize your body, speech, and mind. All of them are in a one place, and then be focused and a single mind.
So ye ge la ra do da re do re so ha da re do re so ha da re do re so ha da re do re so Om Dare Do Re So Ha 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 Om Dare Do Re So Dare Do Re So do da
Da
re
re
do
do
re
re so
yo
de yer de da je jin ro ma de je ren de ro je ja ma le wa de sa na ko ber sho sim je na pa je ni pa ni de na li tar we na na ma le wa ta de shong wa me ber sho ma na de ta da ba ta song a de jo de ber
hong
lo
zhou
san
sam
bo
bo
la
la
so
so
ba
ba
nyang
nyang
je
je
sem
sem
da
da
dan
dan
je
je
ji 야, 그거 다 같은 것만 들으면 알로에다. 응.
Now we're going to continue our readings that we left last time.
다 니와 제동 튼쯤기 값이 냠는 너스 일심 뜻심 게사심 지기 망고 노르디와 졸음 근데 특히 정 시당 시송대 공보 특기 예트 일특 예트 오멍 바마심리 뜻심 기위치 직등기 감 강다나 너다오 뇨몽지 공도 송와망도 요데 탐지지 뇨몽와 탐지기 고 카츠기 대답기 촌네 고부터 전에 샘진 대답 디슴 메피 게사당 덴버 여치 냠도 삼바 탁관이 장오지 론적 냐득기 졸음 탐지당 님천 디 탐지드 냠슬랑을 샤데 고놈리 영지 쳔보데 로영롱 당영롱 졸음 탐지드 디 탐지드 샘진 탐질라 곰버 샤오 시송와 따로 때버들고나라
Your translation, page 78, in the middle. The practice to be followed in the period after and in between meditation sessions. Concerning the three objects, three poisons, and the three virtues, the instruction to be followed in brief is to take these words to heart in all activities. When the six senses come into contact with the six objects, such as those that are attractive, unattractive, and neutral, if the three corresponding poisonous or disturbing emotions arise, sincerely train your mind. Think, by this means, I have cut off all the disturbing emotions of all the many beings overpowered by them in this world. May they thus abide in virtue and be freed from the three poisons. Practice this in all activities, standing, strolling, lying, or sitting, and at all times, whether day or night. Just as Kamalashala's stages of meditation says, the great compassionate one in all his actions, whether walking or standing, and at all times must acquaint himself with all sentient beings. Such a thought should be complemented by reciting the following lines. May their misdeeds repent on me, and may all my virtues repent on them. May all sentient beings' sufferings mature on me, and through my virtues may they all be happy, whether agonies, beings may suffer, may they repent on me alone. Through all the virtues of Bodhisattva, may wandering beings enjoy bliss.
다 조도 생각도 직든디 감드나 파쇼 일 나용을서 대화치 등을지 소라 동용섬 나용거스 소라 데드 동용섬부 파주 일기 땅라 나와 텔라 때니 띠땅 때니 섬지 땅네 아니 노적셔당 때무슨 띠용거스 데 노적섬부 때무득섬부 띠용거 네 섬지 탐지 등을기 나용거스 데자다네 파쇼 일기 데드 소라 동용섬부 농사때 가려요나 아주 홍보트 뭐가 홍보 나요 홍보 지용지용지다 근데 노비 연등아오데라 네 소소 장인 카버로 치용 저 텔라 때네 에네 티 니와로 넘버 쇼 티 롱존에 뭐가 넘버 쇼 나이 넘버 쇼 쇼트 나오티 에네 아주나 니와로 또 파소 이기 넘버 쇼라 찌전데 때네 이기 넘버 쇼가 서로 데데 그 동용다 저병 걸 때자다 서로 등을 통용으로서 텔라 때네 르비 마디와 마켈레온 때네지네 르비 컨트롤 기용 걸스 서로 이땅와 지용나 텔라 때네 에네 어때 이땅와 데와 데키 이땅와 통나 텔람상 어때 나고 그지네 도적 기용 걸스 도적 기용으로서 대가 마토병으로서 영어라지 마드와도 마키와 대용으로서 어때 이제 용사 싸워놓데 마르바강 용으로서 대전 무슨거 원것들이 접이 너무 무슨 거가 다님 서로 데드 동용성고 뜻 뒤한거 섬진라 등은 코로 탐이 봐도 양게요레스 때 양게요 차다 소소도 삼동네고 다 서로 데드 용사때 일 노비 용당하고 텔라무 비 차당기 등거 다 등을 용때 그거잖아 땅아도 데드 용사도 소 셈고 땅네 하수 예지라테네 예티근네 땅도 바 셈라송 셈뜨근 네 땅테네 셈티게 삼로 땅땅스게 때네 남토고 탐이 봐자다 남토 남르 존이 때네 등은 저병고 등을 조용으로서 딘디긴 직팅 감는데 딘디 마시비 온 거다 등을 먹고 용도 저 데이터 탐지에는 소수결라 레네 랑송 삼지 딘디 공고스 데이터지네 데이터 탐지기 특성기 기와당 지와 매와 차송 삼로 지검스 정고스 삼주지네 에네테지로 다 같이 동네지도 파당 사정도 되게 되게 저거 되다 로청년들 값다 로청년들이나 로아당 되게 파당 안데 다 가서 뭐 시가 되는 또 제때때 가우치때 저성던 거 뜨는지 로청년들 값이요 영지 전부 검초고레스 영지 전부 검이나 파당서 소니 심지 담지 대화당다 송 의사라 텐지 심지 등을 다 송 심지 등은 텐지네 곰바이나 로양 좀 디섬담 섬진 탐진기 곱초 보지네 디 탐진 섬진 탐진라 곱을 셔오지 딱디 니지나 디 탐진 인당 삼매되기 로드기 디카티나 텐 삼동도나 디당 남바 탐진 수도 초상로 그랬어 개와도 그랬어 어디 송데다 삼바테타 오동 조로테타 오츠수 곰버 시니즈네 아니 삼로동동 텐다지 아니 텔레텐 리가 있음 그 쪼바 탐지 야럽 그 쫄라 고네 아니 다당 때디 등만 다라 때딱 등을 등면 장지 어때 다라 때딱 제도 탐지게 등을 소소라 먼지니 덕기 대와 말리 때라 점버 먼지 덕 사비 에니 칼리 잠니 드파 개와 사비 기윈 주오테 아니 대와든 로스 답치다 멤버 쇼치즈네 근데 샘진 탐지기 등을 다라 멤버다 덕기 개와 테클라 점버 쇼우즈네 어떻게 담아도 몰음들이 잡고래서 어떻게 그러라 단 로이 등을 녀치고 대근 달라 መንጀ지 션스 셈비 게 션스 셈비 셈쿠이 게킨틴 로아 데와 조르 쇼즈다 또 도치 para 소소라 요베 소소기케네 게위사와 강요 바트 탐치 잔라 홍원이 디 데와 잔라 데와 지송스 심지 탐치 그 아니 삼로 땅땅데 노블 로베 공가 등을 강용화 소시파 세진이 스라 렌송 섬네 어디 당나 맞도 곰지 뜻도 노도식
We are one thing that we can fully understand the essence of the paragraph we just read. That is, if we apply our day-to-day living experiences, or pay attention to our empirical knowledge, then we know that so we are constantly involved with constantly in the state of interaction, and they're taking place between the senses and the object of the senses, or sensory objects. So there are 6 objects over there, but it will respectively appear and then into our sense consciousness. And our sense consciousness constantly, in other words, at the moment of encounter between the sense and the objects sort of emerged or have any interaction. So at the moment that interaction taking place, then we will have a kind of a mental imagery or impressions of that very object. So basically, that 5 the faculty or sense organs that are interacting with the 5 objects. We know that the color, sound, right, smells, and so on and so forth. And then these 5 senses, and then they sort of transmit it or pass whatever the data or impressions, in this case, they get from each object, then they pass it to the 6th consciousness, that is the mental consciousness. And generally speaking, with so those 6 senses, and then so they do have some kind of qualities we call the desirable qualities. Right? So each desirable quality, once the mentally has been uploaded, the 5 desirable, so once it uploaded to or passing into our conscious mind, the mental consciousness, because it has some kind of desirable quality, then we will attach to it. Right. So that's how the 6th consciousness and through the 6 sense organs, and then keep communicating, interacting with the 6 objects. And then the important thing from our our own daily experience, we know that this interaction, nevertheless, give us a vivid, bring us to the point where we have this vivid experience of sensibility, feelings, right? This interaction, whenever it's taking place, then immediately make us to experience it at the feeling level. This feeling level, if you pay attention, you can see that if the sense object that is attractive, then we immediately want to keep it, maintain it, and want to try to attempt to attention. At the same time, if the sense objects, if on is unattractive, meaning that the feeling tells us that is not enjoyable, then we will immediately feel aversion and rejections. We will have this sense of denial it. So from this neutral again, the sort of the state of indecisive kind of moment. But what is really makes us trouble is the sense of the pleasure, a sense of something is favorable. So when the feelings of pleasure, happiness, and they arise, as soon as it arises, it will transform into desire and attachment. So then we experience this attachment and we reinforce it and we justify it. All we did is not based on the clear understanding or because of our misperception or interpretations of the value and the nature and qualities of the sense object. So then, like the text says about the three objects so in the three poisons and the three the feelings, right? So then we experience from the ultimate point of view, we experience the sufferings of the samsara. Then we are sort of tied up to the samsaric miseries of the samsaric experience. So from a small scale, like a moment of experiencing the pleasure, and then you attach to, and then you try to maintain, and then further while you are trying to maintain it, right, and try to make it sort of perpetuate. And then once you encounter with any obstacles, we know that we will naturally have the mind of frustration, right? And then this frustration will transform into the anger, right? This anger arises because at the very first place, we were the way we look at those sense objects, our recognition or understanding about the sense object is a pleasurable, is a desirable, or has a desirable qualities. As we talked, this is again is because the way we look at it is got wrong. We fell to fully correctly understand the sense object at the first place, and then we give the power to what in Tibetan we call the namdo. Namdo is a discursive thought, or any information or any perceptions or any sort of recognition that is based upon the impression, or that's use that derived by trust or believe that the impression is the actuality or is the actual thing. So that's why the sufferings arise. We experience suffering and suffering arise. So we understand all this background, right? This is our reality. This is our day-to-day experience. That's how we're going through, and we're doing that. But now, we take this reality and use it as a rich resource to enhance our Dharma practice, especially by the means of the Donglen, the giving and the taking, right? So how are we going to use it, right? we are learning this thing and try to practice the knowledge, our day-to-day experience, and use it as a spiritual technique. So the way to practice Donglen is it is all time and whenever, wherever, whether you are walking, strolling, you're lying down, you're sitting, and you're talking to, and so whatever you do. Like last Sunday when we discussed about at the end of the question section, and I guess it's Stacy who said that while she was washing the dishes, cleaning the dishes, so and think about the Dharma practice, and or use that washing dish process and transform it into the Dharma practice. So same thing, right? That's the greater practice. Same thing which we here, what we're doing is we apply all this background knowledge of our day-to-day reality. Now we're not taking it as random or something kind of the way it is, but rather it take it into Dharma practice. That is when we breathe out. So we think of all our virtuous qualities and all the merits and whatever we own it, and then send it to all sentient beings. And when we breathe in, and then we thinking that we are taking in the sufferings, the causes of the sufferings of all sentient beings. So we do this at 24 hours or whenever we can, in 7 days, or wherever we go. So this way we can accumulate just by randomly sort of or casually, we can accumulate a tremendous amount of the merits. And so the way we're doing, and precisely here the text told us. So this is a training, how it teaches us how to train our mind. How we should train our mind, that is you, like the text says, may their misdeeds, you think about the sentient being and their scenario, and then you upon reflecting their the suffering and or the miseries they're experiencing, and then you prayer. You say the prayers, or you keep in your mind reciting the following lines of the prayers by saying that may their misdeeds repent on me, and may all my virtues repent on them. May all sentient beings suffering mature on me, and may and through my virtues, may they all be happy. And whatever agonies beings may suffer, may they repent on me alone. And through all the virtues of a Bodhisattva, may wandering beings enjoy bliss. So this is how you see you transform and exchange yourself with the other. And because just like you want to be happy, that's for sure, others want to be happy too. So, and fully recognize this reality, and then exchange the rules of you and with the others. In other words, put yourself into others' shoe, and then say the prayer and reflect on the meanings of the prayer. So this is the precisely how we should carry it out throughout the day in our life.
다더니 데르들 리샹땅 지위 고르샤게데 샤라와 가와 샤라와 쳔비셴니 니 당거드 고르시발라 여토랑보 점진데 뎀메 경이 와치기 좀 몽라 돈줄 벨와 땅와터 조르나 레와 시그는 몽스 코트 조모터 코치 조모터 잠니 게와시 좀 몽스 가나 쇼땅 마나 탁 지기 삼바 탁와니 베파나 Lutoni, Ungo Tombater, no patang, Dingle Tamchili, Dor Kirwa, Yinki, De Rongam, Murung, Tangwi, Matong Shawa, Masha Nyamte, Chachungi, Lomba, Kangwi, Monsons. Marshi so, Yimdi Din, Demi Tangbo Samki, To Darjan, Jivi Tlinla. Tonglen Niki, Goni, Sham Nyangji, Gomba, Nila, Taksum, Rangchis, Yopi, Serd, Manzatos, Oi, Tortosa. This is good Kalahosh.
This must be practiced from the depth of your heart. The great Sharawa said, you train and accustom yourself to this instruction of mine, neither in the manner of a single long beam, nor matter how level or extended it may be, nor like a stone rolling down a rugged hillside, no matter how tough, nor like stagnant, lukewarm pond water. But if you strive with the absolute determination, as the saying goes, red as blood and white as curd, then, like the donkey emerging from the flocks of sheep, you will be freed from all interferences and sufferings. If you hesitated over whether it is proper or improper, or whether you can or cannot engage in the training, it will not be successful.
진짜 단디 베이로 가시 랑종고 기tam 코랑 샤라와 코랑 그 당 당진 냠지기 당가데 세고서 데시양
Yeah. The method of exchange self and other is equivalent to the first 3 points of the 7-point causes and resolve training in the awakening mind, such as recognizing beings as having been our mother. The special wish has not been dealt with separately, since it is integral to the actual training in love and compassion within the practice of giving and taking. Oh yeah.
어디저던데 베이로 가시지 거니 시고 저다 도도로 원시나 그런 거 아니 망 도지 냠지기 망도 고명을 수도 아니 지 일레밀레 지 드리지 거 말 쳇 존좀로다 드리지 당가 타 졸리면서 드리지 용토요 말이 다 인문 삼로 요고 당니 삼로 요고 당니 타 초종나 배나 가로 있나 쇼나지 마로 있나 차나지 세다 드리 삼로 타 초비지 고네니 다 냠는지나 저런 거네 냠는데 날래 페바지 용거래서 에네 배나 르동 르크토니 방게 템바나진 소소고 셈그는 거 노비 등을 탐질 리토르 유튜브 그래서 라지 탐지기 등을 리토이 니와용 용토 그래서 더 롱엄 머롱가 어떻게 심은 말 어떻게 대지고로마도 다대지나 롱 네트브네 마트브 롱은 머롱세들이 티쯤 공원도지나 같이나 다 샤와강 놓고 말했어. 어떤지 전에 타주진이 지고래 타주지용으로서 아니 결정안에서 양지 고물도 다 상치 섬고도 마 양지 고물도 연리망가 등긴당네 말시 진진진조 참아 안에 다다 대시용으로서 아니 설도 학습 마시바 대가를 학부 삼바데 고 말시 진진진조용으로서 뛰는라 다진 양지 고명으로 랑진 그 뛰는 상거요래 대자 아니 학부 삼바드네 랑치스 요페즈네 뛰는라 랑진 그 뛰네 다진 냠지 곰지 다당랑 지용을서 내랑진 그 랑그 삽대 연적 장기 삽대 랑적 올소때 다진 냠지 니와티 용을서 텔라테니 랑진 그거네 학비산 봤을 때 랑리 전 학벌즈 봐 학습제 특발 학습으로 특발 학습 설때 셰고 마시네 설때 니난 니다요레지 어디 도로로도 셰고다 다진 냠지 고면서 일이 망가 된는 거 당보 마시 진짜 용샤 봐 학습제 때바르베 랑진 니난 니도 월세 때 셰고다
So here, the great master Sharawa give us several images, taught us the ideas of the practice through several vivid imagery, or the metaphors. So essentially what he is saying that the contents of this practice essentially can be interpreted or understood by sort of divided by classify the 7 causes and a result of the instruction, or in other words, called the 7 quintessential instructions of cause and effect. But before that, one thing Sharawa here said is very strikingly or very forcefully is that in whatever the case, we must determine, make our mind and determine to put ourselves into the actual practice of the teachings that we have learned. We cannot just sort of in between and yes or no, or may or may not, and kind of have any questions or doubts about our action. And so the determination that is required is absolutely necessary here. And Sharawa gave us a perfect example is that you must reach the point in terms of whether you do it or not is like your action must be very decisive. And the great example is like has to be as like as red as blood. When you think about the blood, of course, the color of blood is red. That's clear and it's a decisive, right? No question about it. At the same time, when you come to the curd, curd color is white. So your action must be as decisive as determined as that kind of clear and fully and committed. If you're doing so, right, then take action. You take action in such a manner. Then what happens is that you eventually your action will produce the result, will promote you. Your action, right? Your determination and the action lead by the determination is makes you become what? A donkey who emerged among the sheep. So it will be extraordinary, right? Will be something is prominent, right? So it will become an excellent and excellent. So similarly, and that's how you should do, right? and that would be your determination will lead you to the such a point of the outcome. So now let's see how this practice can be integrated, corresponded to the 7 quintessential instructions of cause effect. All 7 teachings of a practice of cause and effect that we have talked about in previous occasion. So first of all, recognize, all sentient beings being your mother, and think of their kindness, and then determine to return their kindness, do something to pay back or return their kindness, right? And then feel the closeness, right? A sense of intimacy with all sentient beings, right? And so here, this contents of the specific teachings, the trainings of the mind, is covered in this context is by the Donglen. So when you when you give in, when you take in, right? If you follow this specific instructions here, it means that you are actually practice the first 5 items of teachings of the 7 quintessential instructions of cause effect. Like we said about knowing every sentient being or recognize every sentient being as mother, and then think about the kindness, and then think about how to repair that kindness, right? And then develop the intimacy of a sense of closeness with them, and then have the compassion for them, right? And then when you move on and then practice the exchange self with other, then that is the great altruism, right? So you develop the altruistic intention, and then you determine to help others, and dedicate yourself for the sake of well-being of others. This is corresponded to the in this particular case is so even though this it is the last part of the 7 quintessential instructions, but here it is equivalent to the practice of exchange yourself with others.
Rangila Wang Namadite and Li Longcho Getsasum, Rangila Yoate Terida. Tinja the Patang also, they don't the Tangsa, Jella Tangur, Jella Caros, Jella Kangal Karanguzna, Jen Kochilape, Longchoko Ponchini, Kangatanita, down in the young world. And they Tamjala Muni, Longso to pass also with Jinsong, some Longso to Pa also take Longcho Pong Dignity Tarni, the Tamja Dewa on that song, some the Dewa also Dignity Tower. Ne korsila longcho pasun sopa yor da yinang li nanar ke dongchene ne li ki dingal mangbu yor ote cha ane tikung dingal ta yomar da na chala sope li dingal torme chongdo tu tamchila soso go yong peche man ta na yogla sopa tedi go ni man bala sopa tedi chni pa u pa tong den di gang sem gi de di gang tong na chala sopa tamchili ki tong na chala sopa sasra teni langsong samchene gom gor ane korsila ta Longcho person sopa yore li dewu yorda semma kela chini ta dinga gbe namtok budam da chini ta jason ta thado da tende control tende makelo chi da na korchura te ranging dinga ti dinga ta thamchi soso go pe sisi yonde gi semki gesala tene ani samyang ji chancelo sam tende ko gela tende pa tang ne te ko gela ki yong ti gi ki mashi semge tende dinga ta thamchi se song sam dinga ta se yong ko semki la shidi tang da song sam also ani 다 삼동냥지 등어땅 대화땅 대용으로서 샴바로와 디 등어땅 뭐기 등어 대용으로서 냥지로와 다 삼냥지 요때 아 디스티 적고 길로도 직장으로서 직정으로 직들 봐 요도 냥지땅 대용으로 등어땅 대용으로서 대화땅 대마로 대화땅 대용으로서 냥지땅 등어땅 자와로 데이터 삼냥지 요때 고 레카로 뭐로 찍어도 차도 됐다 mugil ka karmado otri samtang na ne pha tang so tedi so li tang so tam che tang song samta sara ter su sim che tam che gi dingal de lingai sum tang yuri pha la so dingal tam che te song sam tedi samtang na tedi samtang na ani chodi chimo na she na ani ji ta cheme pala che si me pala si ani ke me pala ke ani ji lam dor don no tedi lam tung king do ani ji oda Chiranam ki gi tok chan no shimo tobar shungda ane tendiga ane molo mambo yabchini che gawar do pala samba tang chatang samba la soba tendiga samlo tang chini che na ane kendo da tsogda warda tsogda na tendiga samlo tang simche na rokchi yo samni samtana tela tendiga giyu tsawa hizo soba chigo tima tanga ro da mi ngisi lagling nangla chatab kang tab tawa tab go wari na song ngisi paa song jigo na kali khorwa 다 드디 삼로 당네 드디 제나 소소르비 르비 니와도 공도 페 좀 참자다 랑 진전리 제 지워즈 바둘레 영을 좀 오네 당네 소소 메스다 리롱 쪽에 차당 저전 제지 땅 토와 니와 지용 거 다나 아주 땅 토고 말아 다때 점진 담질라 정말 때 땅은 게 가르치 가지 람송 아 세티요 대자 때 삼로 땅 같은 거 전에 르비 공부 지네 장와이나 오늘 지던 거 땅으로 때리지
So yes, our the center of our focus on the practice is Donglan, is giving and taking. Right? Again, when we consider about giving and the taking, especially the giving, and we must turn around and look at our own situation and see what do we have, right? And what that we can be able to, or we are entitled, what do we own, and we can give it, right? So obviously, what we have is what we can give is what we own, right? It belongs to the things that belong to us. The very materials that we own, things which we are entitled to, we are authorized to use freely, is our own body and our possessions. Right? The possessions is the result of our accumulation and of the virtuous action, right? And our body, again here, in this particular context, is now is a tool that we can use to serve others. Not only the material things that we are possessing, we own, but our body as well. So even though this is ultimately our goal is to fully give our body and our possessions or anything that we own or we're entitled, give it to others and for the benefit of all other sentient beings. But we have to begin our training by transforming our basic attitude towards our body and the things that belong to us. So we began to train this is again based on the complete understanding. That is wish all sentient beings possessing the happiness or endure with happiness. So what do we here again need to be more specific than just generally think about may all sentient beings happy? We need to think of something more that is more practical or at the actual realistic level. That is, we know sentient beings and they need to be happy or deserve to happy is that there are beings who are, because lack of the material goods, lack of wealth, and they are suffered physically, or they are suffered due to the lack of material wealth, such as they experience the illness and lack of basic supply, right? Or the comfortable, reasonable dwellers, and so on and so forth. Right? Suffering, and in this, in our training of the mind, so we need to think about. So we wish that we can manifest ourselves, present ourselves as a doctor, as a medicine, right? For those who are sick, experiences sufferings of sickness, and so then we turned to the beings who are maybe have enough money and wealth, but they do have the other sufferings. Maybe physically they're good, they're not ill, and they're not experience the suffering and like those who are lack of money. But they do experience a different kind of suffering, and which mainly is mental suffering, such as like the suffering they suffered because of the jealous, and they suffer because of the fear, they suffer because of the arrogancy, and they suffer because of fear of lose what they have. So for those beings, we have the reflect in their scenario and think of them, and we wish that we can bring joy and help them to understand how to overcome those mental illness, the sufferings of the mental problem, the disturbing emotions, and wish that they can separate it, so we can manifest it accordingly, right? Ourselves accordingly, present ourselves accordingly, and according to their scenario, a respective situation, and then free themselves from the suffering. So this we can create a sort of a space between the suffering and themselves, let them separate from the suffering. Right? So then this way we can this is how we can help those who are rich, wealthy, but they are still suffer, and help them to free from suffering. And so now here is two things going on. One is you bring the happiness to other. That's the act of kindness, and then you want to try and wanted to create the space between the causes of suffering and the beings. Let them be able to free from what they're experiencing in their own respective level. That is act of compassion. So then you see the compassion and kindness at this point. As far as the nature of this virtuous actions are concerned, they are same. They are identical. So the same entity, right? The entity or the nature of the entity is identical, but they got a different purpose or different objectives. One is to bring the joy to others. One is to free them from the suffering and the causes of the suffering. So again, we do this, or we aimed to do this in the actual situation, but we began to we begin to do this by putting ourselves into the trainings of the mind. The way we prepare ourselves can actually doing so by the means of Donglan, giving and taking. So giving and taking is a form of meditation. Here is the mental training, the mind training. So this training, and we are precisely or specifically, we are going to utilize our breath. So breath in, right, and breath out. Out is giving, right? And like the scenarios, so we have analysis and we understood, right? The situations we know we can relate to and we can apply, right? And then give them whatever the situations are and that you understand. And then taking in inhalation. So again, apply the scenario, the situation, the condition, and then based on your understanding, and then take it upon to you, or wish that those negativities can ripen on you and mature on you. So this is like the great master Shankideva said in his Bodhisattva's way of life, or guidance to the Bodhisattva's way of life, Arya Charadhara. So he wishes that whoever that wishing for food, he can transform himself to be the food and on the plate and in front of that person, and he wishes that he can transform in the clothes, and for those who are lack of clothes, and even that he wishes he can transform into the bridge, and to those who try to cross over the river, right? So those are the Bodhisattva's aspirations and Bodhisattva's altruistic intention. So we do need to train ourselves and to have this aspiration or altruistic intention in our mind and make it fully sort of grounded and fully and generated or developed. Why? Because essentially our goal is to helping others, such as like giving and whatever we have and taking what we can, right? Or exchange ourselves with others. But at the moment, practically speaking, at the moment, we do not, even we wish so, but mentally we are not strong, or we're not fully ripened or fully ready to dedicate or engage in dedicate ourselves, engage in such a pure, altruistic, noble deeds. So therefore, we need to respect accept our situation, and then respect the conditions in which we live. So then we train our mind, because it is believed that this kind of mental training and mind, the meditation, and eventually will open it up ourselves to the fullest capacity. Because you are gradually, if you step by step, right, little by little, you train yourself. And the more you put the time and effort and in this practice, the more strong you become, the more power you will gain. So then when you actually encountering the real situation, and you will definitely fully executed what you have been trained or aimed to do.
야, 다 좋아요. 좋아요, 나 좋아.
Now, I would like to ask you, give the floor to you, and do you have any questions? If you do, please ask.
I have a question. So when you're when you're training your mind, you're going from a specific situation to then a broader situation. So specific would be for people like really close to you, and broad would be for all sentient beings. Is that correct? I guess it's a clarification of this.
I think choice na the joy in the moment or the chichina na seshi nangumedo and the seshi nanoda ni kochola ni check songtang te tende marwe ani ngadu ge nyamlen di penata tongwa tanglan na tangbo susu ge samthani sa tang susu ge tate na songwo shin na ni da to ko ro ma tende sala go ti tene kale chene ani samche tham chala ha tang and tende si review kama este ko la nya te ko na
어때와 다 당보니 소소랑니 니 첼라 요비니 가을 가요 때니 방고즈니 소나데 공바 파제니 로고마 동아주 단다 당보 샘나가 곰치니 곰바로트 공을 공수 소주 년점라 아주 남지 지 공부사서 차도치사 정말 다른 거 심지 담질라 요 말다 아주 년점들라 년점라 냠때 내가 찍는다 다들이 냠때 정말다 자동 찍어를 공통도 찍어를 넣고 찍어를 정말 들리 기용 거로 그래서 담보 소수 년점들이 봐지는 년점들이 봐도 아니 다 김치네 봐도 약국을 매점 배치네 아니 동수 언제 담나용 조다 카피텔도 그러마도 당보년이甚至담지네 갈리 하고 왔었다 때 요마르다 다다래다 그랬어 당보데 같이 강인즈는 아주 남기도 지라네 지금 동지자 다도자 참아 수치라요 주더래다 그랬어 가시기 수수 되게 될래 배타도지 저등점지 특파기야 아니甚至담지 실로즈나 전부 요섬도 때 논트르스 같이서 상거듯이
Yeah, that's exactly correct, and you got a really perfect point, and he raised such a excellent issue, and so in fact, what you say is that's what exactly what the teaching is intended us to be aware of and to do. That is, do something practical and realistic. So how you can be a practical, realistic? That is starting, implementing, right, your faith of the path, the teaching, and start with someone right next to you, right? Who live with you and to whom you have some kind of a relationship, or you are so you have you have to deal with, or you are interacting with for whatever the reason. In other words, it's so someone who is right next to you and very close to you and is approachable, and then you are having relation in the daily basis. So that is the beings, and we do need focus on, and we need they are the field of our experiment, right? Noble teaching, and with them. In fact, it is rather funny and or sad when you look in how we are doing. So we are in general, we experience the jealousy, anger, right, and we are so proud of, and we're not happy with, all kinds of emotions. Emotions that we're experiencing, we are sort of we are sort of bring to others, right? This negative feelings, so we bring to others, and we experiencing. It's not someone who is far away, or like we talked about sentient being, and someone who is way far. And we have no any connections or any relations. So there's no way we experience any disturbing emotions. That means we have no interaction and no relations. So opposite, right? It's quite opposite. we're experiencing all the disturbing emotions, aversions, attachments, like a misunderstanding, which is ignorance. All these are, and we actually is practice it, or we bring this kind of a disturbing emotion to the person right who are living with us, right to us, such as our family member, right, or someone we really and feels love and we feel so close, right. Then of course we also, this negative feelings we can bring to the someone is after the one who knows us well, we know them well, right? So our practice has to be based upon this very sad scenario or situation, and then turn this situation upside down. Now, instead of use have those people we are very close, and to make them as the sort of the field of our negative or disturbing emotions, we turn around, right, and take them as the field of our spiritual practice. That is, we practice giving, and bring joy to them, and taking whatever the discomfort or fear, mentally, and whatever they have, and they're experiencing, they suffer, and we're taking. So we use them and to practice ourselves, make ourselves growing and become sort of advanced to the advanced level, and then we can going out to practice that to our neighbors, right, and at the working place, and then our community, and then further and further. So yes, that's exactly, you're right, and what you said is perfectly correct. We must so the practice and the teachings, and with someone we are closely deal with, we are associated with, but not someone we talked about philosophically, or in the broad sense of the spiritual practice says, oh, may sentient beings, or oh, mother sentient being. Someone is sort of very big and magnificent, but far away out there. And then think we need to apply our practice of compassion and loving kindness to them, to those beings who are very big and but far away. However, we ignore the someone who is right next to us. That's not right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh yeah, okay, Professor.
Just to follow up on Stacy's really nice point, there seems to be something different that we are learning and connected today on another side of this too, which is that when we're doing the Tonglen and these instructions, we're also imagining that the effect of our Tonglen and giving is in a very concrete and effective way helping those in need. So the sick are receiving medicine, the hungry are receiving food. Like we're actually, our practice is transforming into a concrete, effective way of helping them. And I'm wondering, there seems to be something there that's different too, because I think sometimes when we practice Tonglen, we just imagine sending out goodness into the universe in kind of a general way. And this way seems a little bit more maybe realistic and specific too. There's something there. And I'm wondering if we could maybe just cross-check about that, cross-check the understanding.
Mm-hmm. one of the species neuronos. Other Namjina, Samjan Tamche, the Kamsin Doa Samjan says that Chambo Tang, and the Yontokaji Ninji Yundamata, Shinsada or the Samgadayovas, or this Jijani, Mato Gombiwas, Yamnejivas. That been a Donglan La Chacha, when a Tongsa de Samjan Tam, just the morning of Songs, Katamani, or the Tongsa de Samjan Tam Doru to glass of wine, you do never get it. And then Lambert de Yon to Samjan Tam, just a few of us. That dealing and those songs, they talk about the Stacy Gutagi, only to down anything, lengthy, Lanchomba, or Sewachomba now, Jigger. This is like a Lanchomba tail, Jazon Chivina. Samjan Tam just the Chitang game of the remove the Mascona, but Chambo, but they on we say Kazo, Ketchambo Jimowa Jenny. That Chila Yoba Bobo and the Kayolo Yogi, but they on to what you were and they talk to us. Usually, only Samjan Tam just Mugwa sat down, the somewhat down the two Gambla. Chila Yobi gets some chances in ya, and what you pencil in Jewadi, and Tokoski, Kandasiwana, or Sechamachi. No, that's
당아도 마켓 샘진 탐지서 마켓 샘진 탐지 마켓 왜 샘진 마 같은 첨보 임바세 등 아주 세대가 마때 같은 첨보 임바 대 점진진이 샘진 탐지 마켓 용화리 대자 토마메 빠니 겨왔는데 마켓 샘진 탐지 세게 오라 된다 아주 당보네 마켓 왜 샘진 탐지 마켓 예매 아주 오늘치다 티점로 쳐다 샘능하다 녀 요마랑 아주 세대라 여기 모두 파마등 오늘 녀니 지금 아주 린드 진바이자 아주 당보 세대가 파마니들 조 진이들이 로스 탐지라 판토이나 어따 르비 야침 부창도 베나 결혼 사전들이다 다른 지역 베나 와신도 디세 로긴스구나 와신도 디 로긴스가 무일 뜻다 로한테 야침 모르다 티 당보들이 콤바 당보 잔이들이 콤바니와 잔이들이 팔레고 마토 지가 드닝 고 마스마 피게 랩토요 말와 당자 디자 당보 년점 그 심진때 탐지 세대가 파마니 소진이더니 뭐 삼니더니 로로스노 이런 판데 소수 로등 니와등 반주등 그런 거 체리체소나 데데진에 로스미다 판도진이다 타마 오므르좀 상기로서 또 니와 차선 도로고 심지다 주도시도 고마 심지 탐지겠던 용수 속바 셰트와라 사톰볼라 렘나마도 사드마 야발 렘나마도 심지 전동 원이 지시도 갈래 호치고 그랬어요 빈자등 아주 당보 주주네 드니다 로고르마도 당보니네 레트가 와라지 어떤 데지 이상나
Yes, Professor Victor, and there is sort of subtle connections between the broader picture that we have discussed before and the specific sort of the small scales of and the practice that we have discussed here. And so if you pay attention, and in fact, those are about the steps you take in. So the practice, the way to this stage has been set up is a kind of is a gradual, and or practical speaking, it got to be a gradual, something that is realistic. Generally speaking, you're right. We talk about the mother sentient being, or sentient being who has been our mother. That's the basic Mahayana concepts, right? We in our prayers, and generally it is believed that all sentient being at some point has been our mother in the previous lifetime. Well, this is again, it's the kind of a Buddhist discourse. Is more or less is theory, because from our experience and from our the capacity of our own understanding, we know we might have questions about it. We will doubt about it. We may not 100% trust it or believe it is the case. Why? Because it's so vast. It's almost inconceivable to believe or to really see all sentient being has been our mother. right? And then think about their kindness and then do something in return. That is that practically is hard. But what is not that hard is easy to do is that by focusing on the mother and the fathers of our present life, right? For example, like you know for sure, and this lifetime it was your mother who gave you the birth, right? Who sustained you, right? So because of her and you received this human body, and so if you look at this scenario, you have no doubt that you owe her kindness and you are obligated to return her kindness. And then you think about, after the label, right, your birth, and then so how your parents, now the parents, right, and that they sustain you and then they support you and they raise you up. So this gradual, and then you take the real good picture and have a complete and perfect understanding about what's really happened in this lifetime alone. And then you use as example, then apply your this lifetime's experience regarding the relationship between you and your parents. Then you can open it up and your mind, and then have a very vast, great understanding about the mothers of a previous lifetime or the parents of your previous lifetime. So this is, yes, it's gradual, and this practice got to be gradual in terms of to reach its fullest capacity. And so let's think about this way. So we are here in Indiana, and we want to go to Washington D.C., right? Our goal designation is Washington D.C., but to achieve there, the very first thing we need to do is take a step here, start from Indiana, right? So similarly, our goal is to serve, to return the kindness all sentient being, Mother sentient being. But we got to start our practice by think of and reflecting upon and recognize the kindness, the love and kindness of compassion of our parents in this lifetime, and then do something about it. And so once we have really a good, developed a good mind and a spiritual mind, profound and based on profound understanding, and then apply it to our parents, and then from parents in this lifetime, then we can extend this same altruism, same the attitude, and apply it to others. Then we'll be able to, like the scripture says, we can taking care the all sentient beings. But to think about taking care of sentient being is at this point, it merely is like the object of prayer is a kind of theoretical instruction. Why? Because only the Bodhisattva, the beings who obtain the seventh bhumi or eighth bhumi, Bodhisattva's bhumis, right? The 10 grounds, and those who achieve the number 7 or 8, they are the one who has the capacity and can manifest the various way, and then address the sufferings or serve others accordingly. But we are here, and at this point, and we can't do such a thing in the actual in reality. We cannot do that. So therefore, start with a little and be practical and be realistic. That's the good advice.
Okay, thái cho mình vào tá làm biết rồi.
Maybe you don't. I assume you don't have more questions, right?
Yeah, tá làm mình.
Right.
Also,
Then let's say Lamrim prayers.
xie sa pa lo me ma re pie don ro wa nan zhe ya vi ngo bo da zhe ma son bi zhe ro gen de yang bi yang jie zhe wei jie zong de dang bi re ba gen cang lang ji zhou nie ne zhe bi jian nang nie xu shou ge zhe zhen do bi lang jie nan xue zhao zi wei zhang wei tang kui zhou wei ye jie men ba se xi ya wei dang ba ye rang zhen jie qi ba ren chen zhou gui ma jiu qiao jiang yang ber zhi wei shou de yang ji chen bo yo ru zhou ba yi an de de sa wer xie ber shou ya wei ma shong zhen de la zhou xiang qiu lang jie re mi yang tang du nang jie yu la hui de xiang ya wei za ba rang de zhong jie ji lang zang zhe bin ten jian zhe xi zhang jian se xi me dang me men gen cai ru gan de ya wei ngo ba yi nan dao lan dan zhe wer ma jie qi gang zi tao ba qiu la ji jiu ji ci zhen zhe la zuo ba de yi ji de de nan ji da de zhuo xi xi yang zuo shou gen jiang ji da wei la ma ren bo xi da li nian ge pa mi dang shu la ga zhen xian bu bu ni ji zong ke song te ji ni zhe za de so shang zhi sen zhou ren bo xi ma ji wa ne ji zhe xi jie wa nian ma mi ba ren yang Hong de pe wer shou gang zhe zhe wei gu wei shang geng zi pan dang de wa ma lin zhong wei li shan zhi zi wang dan zi yan su xia pe sen ti wa de dan ji de ji jia bu ba wo zhi de ren tian ba dang gen de zong bu de yang de yin de da gen ji ji si dang lo shi ge wa de da dan ji ra de ngo de si me xiao bi ya wa dan ji ji ngo wa gong la zhu de ngo ba da zhen ge wei sa wa de gen jiang zong wo zhi shi re de ngo er ji pan di zhong li dan ba de shang ji dan zhen ji wu dan ji gong gong de jin zhong wei ne sang ji dan ba da de ji zhi de ji zhe re gen de ya wa zong ga wei tang zhu xi yan ge shen zhe Yabe nga be lanzang tenye le ka che zanyang do bar ma jer ji. Oh, thank you.